Hey everybody, welcome back to JD Does Dev. I'm JD, and in this video we're going to get into some advanced customizations. This is the first of 3 scenarios, so be sure to check them all out. In this section we're going to get into some advanced customization, and to do that we're going to see how we can truly make a project custom, not just one of our boilerplates. So I have 3 projects here that we're going to go through. And the first one is configuring to match production. Now here's a scenario. Your client has a site on a host using PHP 7.4, but you know that the default Docksal stack uses PHP 7.3. You want to match environments. How do you do this? Well, let's take a look, shall we? We're going to switch on over to our VS Code. So we're going to be continuing on from our previous project, where we spun up a Drupal site and did a couple small customizations to it. But we're going to change some things around so that our local dev environment matches our hosting provider. So first thing we need to do is open up our docksal.env file. And we're going to remove this Pantheon and just go back to default. And once we save that, we're also going to want to change the doc root, because web doesn't necessarily work for all providers, and we want to use doc root. So here's where we can change that. Right, this line here, pretty simple, doc root. Now by default, that is what it would be if we didn't change anything to begin with. Since up until this point our web server has been looking for files in the web folder, we need to rename the web folder. Now the easiest way to do that is with our editor. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Take this, rename, doc root. There we go. Now another thing that we're going to need to do here is change our composer.json file. Now composer.json is a file that tells Composer what packages we want to install, what we want to have available in our system. And this could be Drupal modules, this could be NPM packages, this could even be Bower packages. But we need to tell Composer where to install the things when it installs Drupal core. And we're going to do that by changing web here over to doc root. I'm just going to quickly do that. And save. So the next thing we want to do is change the PHP version. Now to do that, we need to make a couple edits to our docksal.env file. If you remember, our services are all defined in the stacks files. Those are a bunch of different YAML files in the Docksal folder. The default PHP CLI image is 2.11 PHP 7.3. We go into docksal.env right here. So in this case, we can uncomment this line. And we just need to change a few things out. So our Docksal version is 2.11. And we're wanting to use PHP 7.4. Now the way this works is inside the Docksal stacks services.yaml, the CLI section runs the logic for the image version. There is a little bit of bash scripting in there that checks to see if the CLI image environmental variable exists. And if it does, it uses whatever is defined there. But if it doesn't, it just uses the default CLI image. So next, we're going to open up our terminal. So now that we've made our changes to docksal.env, we're going to go ahead and run fin up. That's going to take about 20 seconds to start the services, pull down fresh versions of the image that we want, and I'm going to scroll up just a little bit here. And you can see that we're pulling CLI, which is this. This is the image that we're going to be using. And I'm going to pause it here to let this finish up, and I'll be back as soon as it does. All right, so it took just over a minute 14 seconds to run that. And we pulled the image. And updated our Docksal Training Project's CLI1 container. Waiting for the project to become ready, and here is the URL to our site. Now, something we forgot to do is make sure that Composer updates the files correctly and that Composer lock knows what's going on. Now, you may want to try running fin composer update lock with the lock flag here, but occasionally you may get some errors. Now, I ran this already. I'm going to scroll down to show you what happened. So I got this error exception, undefined index extra. So what I tried doing then was composer install, but then I got an error saying that the lock file is not up to date with the latest changes. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario, so we don't want to deal with that. Now, what I ended up doing, and usually ends up being pretty safe to do, is clearing out the vendor folder and the doc-root core folder. Running fin composer install. And it's going to go through and reinstall everything. Now, all of these are coming straight down from Packagist, which is the Composer package repo. Nothing in these files or any of these packages is going to be changed by us. If it is, it's going to be completely rewritten the next time we do a Composer install or Composer require. So it's safe to remove these and rebuild them. In fact, it's recommended to do that if you run into problems. So we're going to just let this run for a bit to finish installing, and I'm going to pause it, and I'll be back in a couple seconds when we're done. Alright, so it's finished up, and it did take a little bit of time. This time, just over 4 minutes, as you can see here. But we reinstalled everything, and everything seems to be working, so let's go ahead and take a look at our site. And there it is. It loaded up just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to take a look to see if the PHP version has updated for the site. All right, I pasted a login URL here that's going to just log me in right away. Open up reports, status report. And if we look right here, PHP version 7.4.7, exactly what we want to see. Alternatively, we could have run a command in our terminal. So let's go back there and take a look. So let's clear out. Now, if you want to run a command that's not part of an add-on or part of a Docksal command, but it does work in the Ubuntu machine that your container spun up, you can still do that. You just have to wrap it in finexec. Now, anything after this is going to be run just as though you typed it into the shell of your container. So for this, we're going to run finexec php I. And we're going to make things a little bit easier by piping a grep case-insensitive version. So we're only going to get the lines that have the word version in them. A lot of stuff came back, but let's scroll up to the top and take a look. Here we are, PHP version 7.4.7. So it worked. Exactly what we want to see. So it was pretty quick for us to update a version of PHP that can be easily swapped out for a different version, and it makes a lot more sense to do it this way rather than trying to install multiple versions of PHP on your host machine. In the next project, we're going to go a little bit further with some more advanced customizations. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I'm JD, and this is JD Does Dev. Be sure to check out the next 2 videos, which are going to be more advanced customization scenarios, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Also, if you don't mind, be sure to click that like and subscribe button down at the bottom. Really helps me out.